Hey guys, Chris from MMORPG and GameSpace.com here, and this is the Aston Microphones Stealth, the most versatile, high-quality microphone we have ever had here in the offices, and it is really something special. So usually we would do a SoundCloud capture and let you listen to it, but we wanted to show you a little bit with this too, so you could get a better picture of what this thing is and why it's worth the $379 asking price that it's currently listing for. So this microphone really is pretty innovative, and as you can tell, it is a very high quality microphone too. The capture that it gets is just phenomenal. Now, the biggest thing that makes this special, as you can see down here, there is a ring, and you can kind of see on the recording here, but that ring actually has 4 different settings for V1, V2, G, and D for Vocal 1, Vocal 2, Guitar, and Dark. Now, each one of those represents a mechanical connection to a circuit that's built in here to get 4 separate voicings. So there's no EQ that's going to degrade your recording in there. These are actual different bits of circuitry that are built into this microphone, which is really a very unique thing. But more importantly, for people who are out there streaming or producing content, is it lets you dial in your voice right off the bat without using any kind of software, anything like that, that's really going to fake different nuances to your voice. This is just going to record with a different character. And as you can tell from the guitar setting on there, you can actually use this for instrument recording as well. So what Aston does that makes them special is they have a panel that does blind tests, blind listening tests, to choose which microphone is the best for any different set of circumstances they might throw at them. So what that panel came up with is V1 typically is going to be like a male voice, V2 is a female voice, G is for guitar, and D is for dark, which is going to be closer to like a ribbon microphone, which is pretty good for broadcasting purposes too. Right now you're hearing me on the dark setting, which I rather like. V1 is the other one that I really care for. They're all very good, and they do recommend you check out the one and check out all of them to find the one that's going to be the best for your voice. Now, there's a whole lot other that's going on here, so we'll get back to that in just a second, but if we look at the microphone as a whole, it is a big, heavy-duty microphone. It has a nice metal body on here. There's a little bit of plastic around the ring up here, around the actual microphone capsule, and the plastic down here to represent the ring. So with that, inside of this is actually a built-in shock mount. Now, I've heard that from many different gaming microphones at this point. They've all universally been bad. This is the first one that actually works. So you'll see there is no shock mount that I have on here, and I would be able to use a shock mount, assuming I could find one of this size, and typically I would, but this is actually quite effective. So built inside of this are 4 sorbethane balls, or hemispheres, like half balls, that actually hold the microphone capsule suspended in air. So it works quite well. There's really no need for that additional shock mount that's on there. So that's going to give you a little bit of savings also. So when you look at that price, you have to really factor in, we have the built-in shock mount, the built-in voicings, and then in the end, we can see that there is a built-in pop filter, which is actually pretty effective also. It's not like amazing, okay? You can still make it pop sometimes, but it's much better than many of the other pop filters that come built in there. So as long as you're speaking normally, you really shouldn't have any issues. So I think that's pretty darn high quality. So between those, you're already looking at saving anywhere between $50 and $75 without even factoring in the voicings. But if we go back to those voicings, the other really, really unique thing about this microphone is that it automatically senses whether or not you're providing phantom power to it. So if you've ever used a dynamic microphone, you know that you really have to crank the gain on your interface or your preamp to get a decent capture. Right now, this is at about 95% out of 100 on my interface to get this level of capture that's on here. Now, I can turn on phantom power, and it's going to engage a Class A preamp, which is going to raise the volume without adding all kinds of noise. And that's a really important thing, because if you've ever seen a microphone like the SM7B or Rode Broadcaster microphone, those typically require a separate preamp, which usually goes for between $100 and $150. This has a really, really good one built in that just uses the phantom power that you could already be providing. So again, like that's something typically you'd buy afterwards. It's built right into this thing. So when we look at that cost, that's another big piece of it. So without further ado, let's listen to the different voicings that we have on here. It is going to create just a little bit of noise, which in normal use doesn't matter because you're going to find what works for your voice, and that'll be that. But let's hear how it changes it. So this again is on the dark setting, and let's go to the guitar setting. So again, for me, I don't really care for this. It's not really intended for vocals. It's intended for guitar capture, and it does a very good job with that. Let's go to V2. There we go. Now that's on V2, and typically this would be for the female voice, so they say. Now, maybe different for you. For me, it's a little bit too crisp for my voice. It does have a little bit extra volume in there too. So V1 is the one that I actually typically prefer. And this is vocal 1. Now, I really, really do like this one because it does have that extra warmth to it, and it also has a little bit of the crispness that I really just appreciate when I'm recording. Now, if you can't tell, I don't really have a radio voice. This microphone gives me a much better radio voice than I've ever had, so I just adore this thing. So we're going to go and we're going to turn on phantom power now, and you're going to see what that actually does to this mic and give you a good example of the kind of versatility that it has. So I'm going to lean over here, and I'm going to turn the volume all the way down to 0, and let's see what it does. Okay, and now that phantom power is on, the purple ring went on, and we can actually turn that off. There's a button on the back here if you didn't want the LED. I think it looks kind of cool, though. It adds to the stealth kind of vibe for it, the black and the purple. But again, this is with the interface turned all the way down. It's down at 0. I have other dynamic microphones, well, I don't have a separate preamp, okay, but all of them have to be cranked way up, so I'm very impressed that this one is able to be turned all the way down to 0. I no longer have to be right on the microphone, so, I mean, you can lean back, you can still get a good capture, but it does sound best if you're right up on it. So the reason why you might want to do this in a streaming setting would be if, for example, you're in a noisier environment, you would want to just turn the gain up and turn the preamp off. If you're not in a noisier environment, you might want this a little bit further away from your face, or you might have different recording circumstances where you do want the extra headroom that's on there. So then you would go ahead and turn that on. Now, what's really nice about this is it has wonderful off-axis rejection. So as you can tell, I'm staying right in front of it. It gets a good capture, but watch what happens when I come over here. You can hear me, but nothing like this. So it's very, very good. You really have to be right in front of it, and that means when you're doing things like typing on a keyboard, it's not going to be nearly so loud. So with that, guys, we're going to let you get back to the review, but let's actually turn off the preamp and give you an example of what this thing sounds like without the preamp and then typing there. So we'll go right back to that. Okay, and now we're back here, and I'm typing again, and as you can tell, it's just much quieter. Now, that's actually quite a bit louder there than I would actually even typically be typing, so that's on a mechanical keyboard, the noisiest of the noisy keyboards, but it gives you a good example of if you're broadcasting, you don't want to hear those background sounds, then this is going to be a great fit for that. So overall, this is an amazing microphone. At $379, it is expensive. It's not for everybody. It's what I would consider an investment microphone. You're investing in your stream. You're putting money in to make money, probably for most of us. So it's that kind of item. But if you're putting on a production, it really does not get a whole lot better than this. I am extremely impressed. And when you factor in all of the different things they're doing and all the versatility this has, it's a very good choice on the higher end, but a very, very good choice regardless. That would be an easy recommendation for anyone that has the extra money to put into their stream. So with that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll let you get back to the review.